Welcome to the Athletes in Motion podcast, from race to recovery, with your hosts, Tom Riegel and Kenny Bailey.
All right. Hey, Kenny, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Tom. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Really excited about today's show.
Me too. I want to introduce you to Dani Dyer.
Hello.
Hey, Dani.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Welcome.
Dani is the owner of Dani D Fitness and also a body positive influencer, and apparently blowing up on the TikToks with how many now?
It's like 9.5 million
Not
views.
to brag.
Not to be specific.
Yeah.
Not to be specific, but 9.5, and I'm counting, and I'll see what tomorrow looks like.
Right, exactly.
Well, congratulations on that. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
congrats.
Thank you. Yeah,
That's awesome.
It was very, just so random, like so random. And I don't even really know how to use the TikTok, you know? And so I just put that video out there on a whim, kind of feeling positive and wanted to love myself that day a little bit, harder, and and it just took off.
Well, that was an awesome video. I saw it myself. Tons of strength. So that was impressive. Very impressive.
I clicked on it 163,000 times. So you're welcome.
You're the reason.
I'm the reason.
Thank you.
So you went, so here you are flipping a 500-pound tire, is that right?
Yes.
But you started out as a dancer.
Yes.
So how does a dancer go from dancing to flipping a 500-pound tire?
Yeah, it's kind of, crazy, because I basically was doing dance every day. I took every class possible that I could. I competed, went all over for regionals, nationals, all the way up until I was, 17 and graduated high school. Got into a dance college, ended up not going, just went to UT, stopped dancing, so stopped movement completely, right? And basically, I didn't do anything. I put on weight, I got depressed, and from there, it was one of those things where I was like, you know what, I really want to do this. I want to do some type of fitness. So I actually auditioned to be a group fitness instructor. And so got that, and I could use the private studio by myself.
Good.
So I started working out on my own so I wouldn't feel self-conscious in this huge gym full of college kids, right?
Oh, heck yeah.
And so then I became a personal trainer that next year because I saw a need for it. There were no female personal trainers. And then while in school. And then after that, ended up being at a healthy living resort in Vermont. So that was really crazy and random, but super fun. And they
What's a healthy living resort?
So basically, when you hear people go to there's one in Arizona, California, very high end resort.
Yeah. Okay,
you know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
And so where women just come to get away. They come to focus on themselves, maybe moms, young girls, but learned about body positivity, binge eating, all those things that I didn't get here, right? Because everybody here and it seemed like in Tennessee was just fitness, workout. They didn't, diet. And so up there was a very holistic approach. So after I left there, I actually started a job in Franklin, and then, one of those things where I was accustomed to, I had the equipment there, so I could use it kind of and learn about weightlifting and stuff like that. But I ended up started taking a class 3 days a week and taught me about strength training a little bit. And then it wasn't until I started my own business in 2017, actually by that time it was 2018, that I ended up getting a personal trainer, because I realized that owning a business, I didn't have time. And you guys probably understand too.
Totally,
You have to make the time to work out and get your movement in. And I just wasn't doing that. I was overwhelmed. I was stressed out. I was commuting back from Murfreesboro to Franklin every day. And so finally I got this trainer, and he was awesome, Matt McQuiston with Klug Fitness. And they're really known for rugged, weightlifting stuff. And I'm over here hey, I want to do endurance and run, because I was doing half marathons at the time and HIIT training. And literally the first day that I get out there, he puts a ladder down and he's like, do this ladder drill. And I took 2 steps and got a calf cramp. And I was so embarrassed. I was like, dude, I don't know what's happening. I can't, and at this point I'm about 20 pounds heavier and 20% more body fat, I would say, maybe a little bit less. But, it was one of those things where I was being, healthier minded, stuff like that. But just with running a business and stuff like that, I started to get back into old ways and not eating as properly. And anyway, so he basically was like, why don't we try something else? I think he handed me some dumbbells and was like, let's do some farmer carries. And so I did some, and I was like, he's like, oh, is that not, that's not heavy, right? And I was like, no. He said, okay. So we kept going up. And to this point, he's like, this is crazy, And so finally, after about a month of working out, he said, you're really strong, right? Yeah. And I said, yeah, I thought I was, but anytime I had gone to Nashville classes or Franklin classes, they always looked at my body and they were like, here, take some 5-pound weights. And it was really unfortunate.
Man. Yeah,
and
that's not right.
Yeah. And so I was just kind of okay. And I was very, I had the endurance and things like that. And I was doing these really cool things, but nobody really saw that. And so for me, having somebody that believed in me was the catalyst that started all of this. So he said, hey, I've actually done a strongman competition before. If you want to go, here's this coach. His name is Music City Strongman, which his name is Blake Harris. And I was like, yeah, let me reach out to him. We talked on the phone for 2 hours. And he's like, by the way, there's a competition this weekend. So me and Matt ended up going to the competition and we won. And so it was awesome. And so basically Blake was like, oh my gosh, like let's keep doing this. So then I went to another competition a month later and won. And remind you, strongman is like old school heavy lifting. You're doing medleys, you're lifting up stones. I mean, you're doing these crazy things that like I had never prepared for. I had just done like, I'd done some deadlifts and some cleans and stuff like that. But like at functional
go pick
movement,
up a stone, right?
Yeah. But I was just naturally strong. Plus like having that trainer, help me was great. And then Blake to coach us. So basically it started out with us three and then ended up, me and Matt went to nationals. Blake came to support, watch us and everything like that. Did really well, 15th in North America for me. And they were
That's
like,
outstanding.
Thank you. And that was just out of like, of doing it for like 3 months, so I had to lift up 485, 4 times and stuff like that. So, I mean, it was just very kind of crazy, right? And then we started the year over, starting in 2019, went to a competition. We both qualified for nationals again, so we're doing strongman practice every Sunday, all this stuff. And and then went to nationals and that competition was in July. They won at Vanderbilt and Blake put that on and I sponsored it. And Nashville Fit actually was the host of the expo. So super cool event. And so, we were like, yeah, we'll come and sponsor, but we'll do the competition as well. So it was like the perfect day. It was the first time my parents got to come, to watch me at a strongman competition. My friends were there. They made signs. I had helpers, ambassadors,
That's awesome.
telling people about Dani Fitness. Like it was such an epic day.
Great.
Yeah. So I know it's weird how it came about, but it really just came down to someone believing in me.
Yeah.
After going to I probably had gone to 100 different classes in Nashville and Franklin over that year, and everyone said do the female weight. I tried CrossFit. I tried a lot of different things.
You had all the base fitness and base strength from all those years of dancing.
Yep.
And you just needed the right person to point you in the right direction and believe in you. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
That's what we need.
Yeah, and I think that what's interesting about that too is I'm assuming there was a lot of confidence when you were dancing, right? You're doing well dancing, and then all of a sudden you hit this rut during college and other things where you're trying to figure out the confidence.
Right.
And you were questioning yourself on that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that once you started really getting into powerlifting and to strongman competitions, that confidence kind of came back. Did you feel that spark kind of come back as you started doing that?
Oh, 100%. From the first competition that we went to with strongman, literally, I mean, I'm over there wearing a Dani Fitness shirt, booty shorts, whatever, rocking it out. And I'm just like this girl there that nobody knows and stuff like that. And it felt like I was back on stage. And that's what I loved about dance, because what I hated was the practices and where people would be like,
most people do,
and where people would be like, with me, I was always a larger body, so I didn't really fit the type. So I learned insecurities at a young age, where like for me, I was always confident, but then other people kept putting their insecurities and their thoughts and their stereotypes on me. So then I thought, well, maybe if everyone thinks this way, maybe I am that way.
Okay.
And I was trying to fit in this box, and I never fit. So for me, it was one of those things where, getting into sport, I don't know anything about. Like, I'm just there, right? And to do well, it was just this like rush of endorphins that it made me feel like, wow, I looked strong. I looked sexy. I can lift all this weight. I can do all these things. And it was fun.
Yeah.
And that was just an amazing feeling.
And we see that a lot talking with Copernicus was the same way. The people that get into a new sport, they're brand new to it.
Yep.
Right? You don't know better.
Yeah.
And then you succeed. Right?
Yeah.
And once you overthink it and start having other people put their ideas on you and push through that is when you start to fail.
Right.
You start to question yourself. So
and that's a theme, right? Which is, the good news is you were strong enough mentally to be able to say, look, this is going to be the thing. Like I'm getting the feedback that I want. And you're doing heavy. You're a woman, you're not supposed to do heavy.
Yeah,
that kind
exactly.
of thing. And now you're at 9 million views on TikTok because it's pretty damn empowering.
You can lift heavy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think the biggest part of that too was a lot of, because there's no way I could read the comments. I started. It was so funny when it blew up. I didn't even realize I posted and had meetings all day. So when I looked back at my phone, I called Blake up, because Blake Harris is now my lead trainer for Dani Fitness. So he actually works with me, and which is so cool. But because he's saw all this progress and saw, like, he believed in me as well. And so it's just been a super cool thing to have him on board. But basically, you know, it was like, I called him, I was like, hey, what does it mean when you have 1 million views on TikTok? And he was like, I don't know. And so we're Googling it, trying to figure it out. And then by the next day, it was at 5.5. And I'm like, what? So basically, you know, everyone's reposting it on her turf, you know, Just Women's Sports, House of Highlights, you know, trending on Reddit. So it was so cool because, you know, I believe in when you put out positivity, you'll receive that back. Okay. Yes. And with this past year and just everything that had happened, you know, it was very hard for me to find, even me being very positive, just naturally, that like will to stay positive. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so when I had that great day, which I always tell my clients, when you capitalize on a great day, you don't waste it. You know what I mean? Yep. And so I was going out, I got my hair done, got a spray tan. I was feeling good. And I was actually posting the video while I was getting my hair done. And my hairdresser kind of looked at it and was like, oh, like that's a cool video, you know?
That's cool.
And so I then posted it and then literally just in my meetings, had a good day. I was like, man, this has been an awesome day. And to open that back up and see all of that, I'm like, this is so cool. And it just meant the world to me because when I started looking at the comments, I started replying and then I realized, there's like 2,000 comments. I can't reply to all this. So I was like, I frazzled. Yeah. And so when I looked at the comments, there was women like, you know, like I'm crying at the TJ Maxx parking lot. Like, this is so empowering. This is so,
that's awesome.
You know, or they're like they're like, finally someone that looks like me doing cool stuff.
That's awesome.
And that was what was the biggest thing was that I think that, you know, when you think about a lot of strong women athletes, a lot of them do steroids. I do not. And, you know, they look a certain type of way and they expect, you know, people expect when you do that, they need to be like ripped and all this stuff, whatever. So to see me in the build that I am and in the frame, they were just like, wow, like you look strong, but you also are, you know, you have this positive body, you know, and this aura about you. And I think that really resonated with a lot of them. And so that's where it was super powerful.
Oh, completely. And did you ever think that you could have this big of an impact on people?
So I was basically that person that's like, you know, that kid on the bench in football, right? That's like, hey, put me in, coach. Like, put me in. Like, I will show you. Like, I can do this, right? You know? And the coach is like, nah, like, we're not. I see you in practice. Like, we're not doing it, right? Yeah. Or doubts them or doesn't believe in them. And that's how I felt this whole journey with everything that I've done, from starting from my business, starting to strongman competitions, even from dance at a young age. I've always felt that kind of like barrier. And so to then have, you know, me post that and just like get that confirmation that, like, for me, it was that I knew that I could have an impact if I was put in the game.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yep.
And so it was so random that it was TikTok as the platform, but like, you know what I mean? But to then get put in the game and people finally see it.
Yeah.
That was what I'm like, this is what I've been waiting for, because I can handle it at that level. It's just that, like, you know, I never was given that opportunity because of all the barriers, I felt like.
Yeah.
And you know, we've known each other for a little bit, not a terribly long time, but there's no one's ever going to say you don't have hustle,
right?
And no one's ever going to say that you don't throw positivity out every opportunity that you get, right? And at some point in time, you get to harvest that.
Yes.
And what's neat is you get to harvest that now. So that kind of brings us to our next sort of segment around sort of our title of our podcast is Athletes in Motion. We were a little nervous about doing that title because we didn't want to box ourselves into athlete, because there's a connotation on athlete that may be a little, you know, if you're not sponsored, if you don't have a bib on your, bib number on you, somehow you're not an athlete.
Right.
What do you, when you hear that word athlete and when you talk to people, what do we need to do to sort of help break that kind of definition, or that old definition, I guess?
Right. Yeah, no, I totally get that. From personally experiencing that, because, you know, doing half marathons at my heaviest, right, and doing, you know, events and Spartan races and stuff like that, it was always deemed as, okay, well, you're not an athlete, you know? And so I put it out in existence. Like, I would tell people, like, I'm like, I am an athlete. Like, I believe in myself. The things that I do are very challenging, very hard, whatever. But it wasn't that I was sponsored or that any like things like that. It was just that I was putting in the work. And so for me, I tell my clients, I'm like, you all are athletes, no matter if you're on your beginning phase, intermediate, you know, you're advanced. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you're out here sweating, you're out here working, you're fighting for what you want, which is one of my main slogans. And you're doing the things that are hard and challenging in your life. So instead of comparing to an Olympian or comparing to somebody in the NBA or whatever it is, that's not the life that you want to live, because you're always going to be set up for failure. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's great to admire those people and to look up to those people. But I have never compared myself in that sense, and just focused on, like, for me, like half marathons, for example, I just wanted to be better. Like, for example, like I kept doing like 3 hours. Like I think the first one I did was like 3 hours, like 20 minutes, right? Super slow, a lot of hills. And then, and then I went to like,
damn those hills.
And then I went to like 250, 245, 230, 220, 212, just kept going. And that was like the competition within myself, not other people. Because again, I can't compare to someone that's been running since the age of 3, whatever. Yeah. And then me, not having that same journey, or even if I did have that same journey, it still shouldn't be this competition of I need to be this athlete that's, world renowned, but just being that athlete for setting an example for my, family, for your friends, for those people, and showing them that anyone can be this. Anyone can do it.
It's always been the success for like lifetime activity is if you compare against yourself and not against other people, right? You're not a one and done. You're not just going to run out and do a half marathon and then call it a day.
Yeah.
This is a lifestyle. This is something, and the only way to sustain that lifestyle is to compete against yourself.
Exactly.
You can have friendly competitions with other friends and things, but ultimately you just need to look at what you can do and then try to improve that and try to challenge yourself enough to go that route, which is what you're doing.
And to give yourself a break, too.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not competing against my 35-year-old self anymore.
Yeah.
I'm a little north of 35.
Just ahead.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
So that can be difficult, too, is if you've been someone that's been active before, and then, to your point, you were active before, kind of stopped for a while and came back, is that you don't try to compete with the like if you try to do a half marathon today, you don't compete with the 2:10 half marathon person, right? You have to sort of make sure you reset your reality, and that can be really, really hard, especially for type A personalities.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for one of the first
like
things
me.
you sit down. You sit down with a coach, and the coach should say, "So, what are your expectations?" And then you tell them, and then they just go, "Okay, now really, what are your expectations?"
Exactly.
Because that's really great, but where you're at right now, how can you do that?
And that's why I try to tell my clients, and they all know this, is that I just want them to be real with themselves. Be real with me, be real with themselves about what the expectations are. If someone comes in and tells me they want to lose 30 pounds in a month, I'm like, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? And so how about we scale it back? Let's actually be realistic about this. What can fit in your healthy lifestyle regimen, and then excel you to where, you can do this on your own eventually. Like you can feel confident in yourself. That's the biggest thing. And even with the tire flip, I didn't want to post that video for a very long time because, even on TikTok and stuff, because I kept thinking about, like, man, I have all these great videos of me doing awesome stuff, lifting up Atlas stones and stone over steel, we're stone of steel and whatever. And just one of those things where I'm like, man, I want to put these out there, but I'm not that person right now because, I've been dealing with an injury that I've had for a long time. And so for me, it was like, I'm not that person anymore. So why would I put that out there? It's fake. It's not real. Because I try to be very in real time with my Instagram, my Facebook, like this is me today, So I was like, well, why would I put that out there? So then when I was having that positive day and had a different outlook, a different perspective on myself, it was like, no, I am, an awesome person. I do great, cool things. Even though I'm not doing it right now at this moment, it still happened. It still was a lot of work and determination. You know what I mean? There's so many things that went into it. So I should celebrate that.
Absolutely.
And that's why I put it up on a Thursday as like a throwback Thursday, And not that that's a thing on TikTok. I don't know. But I just,
the TikToks, I think we're still on a formal basis with the TikTok.
Oh, yeah. We're not that close yet, But so I don't know. So it's just kind of interesting to look at it and not compare yourself back to that because, I think a lot of people right now are like, oh, did you lift that tire like last week?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that was like almost, 2 years ago. It was like a year and a half or whatever. So no, I didn't. But there's been cool things ever since then too.
Yeah.
And what I heard, I think, is a world exclusive that we're going to hear that there's going to be a sequel on TikTok.
That's
what I heard. That's what I heard. I heard a sequel. So you heard it here first, folks. Breaking news.
Right.
Somebody
follow Dani D. Follow Dani D.
You never know when the second one's coming out.
You never know.
You always got to be on your toes.
Right here, exclusive. It's interesting because here at the Recovery Lounge, when we have people coming in, they look around, they look at the place, and they go, "Wow, this is really cool. Is this, do I have to be an athlete to be here, or do I have to?" And it's one of these. Again, I like what you said, and I wrote it down to make sure I got it, and I got to find my glasses now. As long as you're putting in the work, and that's what's interesting is people come in, and we have pro athletes that come in here. We have people that are, 6 days a week on CrossFit. We have a lot of, soccer players, all that sort of stuff. But we also have people that are just looking to feel better.
Yes.
Right. And they're like, well, I don't know if I earned it this week. And they're like,
Right.
you earned it. Right. And it's like, no matter if it's and we tell everybody, I don't care if you're doing a couch to 5K or you're doing an Olympic event.
Yeah.
If it's, you're putting in the work, you deserve kind of to be that, to get that sort of recovery. You deserve it. It's not, you don't have to have
and
a
it's part
bar.
of your training. It's totally part of your training. In order to continue on, you have to incorporate some of this into your into your schedule.
And that's exactly what I tell my clients and stuff. And we talked about this on my podcast as well, about it's really not about even deserving something.
Exactly.
This is part of your regimen. Like, you can't expect to work out, even though if you're not running, 5 miles and you're not doing 100 burpees, you're still working out, you're still doing movement.
Yeah.
Let's say you're doing it even just 2 days a week, but you haven't done movement in 20 years. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, that movement that you're doing, your body is going to, your muscles are going to tighten up. Things are going to happen. Stuff might shape out, whatever. You may feel great, but with every high, there's a low. So if you don't take care of yourself throughout that journey, and I learned that the hard way, especially with strongman, because I didn't warm up before, and I was like, let's pick up 200 pounds. I was just going with the guys, And I remember the very first time I ever did anything, I put a 400-pound yoke on my back, and and with no belt, nothing. I think I had done something to warm up, maybe a little bit. I don't, but
had
just
coffee.
Right, exactly. And did it, and that was not proper. And then it finally got to the point where, man, it took everything out of you lifting that heavy of weights. So I was going to different, recovery lounge and different places to get the cryotherapy, the sauna, and I had to do that to operate at that level. And so it was one of those things that even before that, or even now, with me being not as active, I still do that stuff. You see what I mean?
Yeah, sitting in a chair cramps you up and everything. Right. Getting the recovery, getting some cryo or getting the compression, all that compression stuff, that helps that.
Yes.
That helps the desk part of the day for us. And then the movement just makes that just better.
Exactly.
So, getting back to the athlete thing too. Putting in the work is sort of like, if you're putting in the work, it doesn't matter if that work's 500 steps that day. If the work is whatever, you're an athlete.
You're moving.
Right?
It's a mindset. It's totally a mindset of what you need to believe in yourself at that point, and allowing yourself that thought.
And that has to be reminded. I think what's interesting is you've been down this road a few times, but you can still be today when I show up to a race, I'm pretty intimidated, right? I look around, especially triathlon is terrible, right? You show up to an Ironman and these people are like 6% body fat, and you're like, what am I doing here, right?
Yourself, and then you show up and you go,
so I'm going to go ahead and be in the back here, and so you have to, that body positivity and just having that positive mindset. It's like, look, I'm going to race my race.
Yes.
And I do a lousy job of that. I will tell you right now, I suck at that. I do.
And you put yourself in a wetsuit. There is less than 1% of people look good in a wetsuit.
Oh yeah, I can't imagine.
Good-looking people don't look good in a wetsuit. It just exposes everything.
Right.
And it's just like, you have to be comfortable with that. That's tough.
Yeah.
So you have people that come in, obviously. So Dani D's, your program is attracting a lot of folks. When people come in, they're going to have that why, right? Help us understand kind of what are the whys that you get when people come in, like, hey, I want to, is it, hey, I better lose 30 pounds in a month, or is it, do you try to help reframe that why?
Yes. I have a language about my business. So we don't say FAT, we don't say SKINNY, we really just focus on, that if you are a larger body frame, basically helping them to understand that, you may be a larger body frame, but you still have a strong frame. You know what I mean? You still have great leg muscle. You still have something, something positive about their body. That's the first thing, right? And to help them see that this will be a healthy lifestyle regimen, because I don't train that way. I don't train for people to just lose weight and then see ya. You know what I mean? That's not how this is, because the weight will come back. I've lived it my life, with everything. And so I basically just try to help them reshape the mindset. And when they come in, I think that now, because the brand has gotten bigger, people are understanding that when they come, they know they're dealing with a body positive, influencer, and they're in there, and they know me well enough to know that I'm not going to settle with, you can continually talking negatively about yourself. And I've had men and women do it. It's not just women. A lot of times people try to blame this on just the women being emotional or sensitive or whatever. I've had males who sit there and just tear themselves down in front of me, and I'm like,
guys are brutal.
Right?
Sometimes.
And I'm like, hey, first off, what's going on? But second, we're not going to do this here. Like, this is not like, I mean, seriously, like this is, I mean, you can have your outlet and whatever, but at the end of the day, like, you're here to do something. Like, you showed up. And 90% of life is just showing up. So you showed up. So let's capitalize on this, love ourselves through it. You know what I mean? Because this is the time, because you're doing something that's actually benefiting your body versus just sitting at home being sad and depressed.
Yeah.
So for me, I just really try to enforce that with them, that I want you to start to love yourself. And even if you have to take a picture of yourself, when you first start out, you kind of want to have that base, right? And like, even if, you have to have your husband, your partner, your boyfriend, whoever, like, take the picture of you, it doesn't matter, like do it and then keep it somewhere stored or whatever. But then I would encourage you to every day start to look at yourself in the mirror, make yourself do it. And find that one positive about yourself. Don't wait until you've lost the weight. Don't wait until you feel
really
your best self. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, start now, and that way you can appreciate it. And that's what I did. I literally took in college a picture of myself every day. I wouldn't post all of them or whatever, but I would have it up there so accountability. And I would start to see, oh my gosh, like, my waist is coming in. Like, oh, my legs are starting to shape up. Like, this is so cool. Versus if I would have kept being on the scale, I only would have seen negativity.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have seen that. And I wouldn't have been positive. So I would start out with, like, I'd say, man, I love my hair. And then, I mean, that's it. And then like the next
It's like
day,
three good things,
right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing I'd be like, I love my eyes. So you start with the face, kind of thing, whatever. And that's what led to that no filter project I did, where I literally asked, I think I had 70 women, and every single one of them had a very hard time finding what they loved about themselves. But then they found one thing that they loved, and they took a picture, and we did a slideshow. You know what I mean?
And that opens up the door to get you to think more about that.
Yes. And in that 70 women, only me and one other, and the other one lives around here. She runs all the time, just great mom, great person. And only me and her were the only two that said that we love our body completely.
Wow.
And again, that took us a long time. I mean, it took her on our journey, took me on my journey. But I was hoping that it would inspire people to know that, like, you may only like two things about your body right now, but, like, you will get to that point if you can let down the comparisons, if you can let down all the stigmas and all the expectations and unrealistic timelines, and just do the work and just focus on, like, loving yourself throughout it, you will get to that point.
Do the work and love the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes that's hard, right?
It's very hard.
So when people are, you're 3-4 weeks into this thing, you're hoping to have some sort of, like, I love the fact that you're doing it daily. Like, you're trying to find one thing. We used to do this with our kids when they were younger. I noticed at the dinner table, we would talk about everything that went wrong for the day.
Right.
And so we started doing 3 good things. Like, you had to do 3 good things.
Yes.
And if their day was lousy, it was like, dinner's good, I'm alive.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. And
but still made them do it.
But I think that's really great, because you're doing the same thing, which is,
Yeah.
you can find 18 things wrong with yourself.
Yes.
Easily.
100%.
Anybody can.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And you're like, look, if it's, I had a good hair day, and that's my thing.
Yep.
That's the thing, right?
Exactly.
So when they're 4 or 5 weeks into this, and they're sore and they're tired, and they're hoping to get these gains that I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, and it's becoming slower than expected. How do you get them to kind of get back to their why? Are there different motivators for different people?
So really, and it's funny you say this, because one of my clients had just, like, did a whole thing in our group about it, like, explaining that she finally understood. It finally clicked for her, the Deity Fitness process, right? And, for me, it is different. You have to go different approaches on different people, right?
Yes.
Because, for example, when people, like, start running, right? You have people that have to walk. You have people that can jog. You have people that can actually run. You have people that go faster, slower.
Yeah.
Everyone's on a different journey. And so I kind of take them for where they're at, and learn about the personality, learn about how they, respond to different things and whatnot. Because I studied communication studies in college. So the research and the background of people. And so, that has helped me a lot, know. And from there, it makes me feel like I can get to know this person and know what their weaknesses are, and mentally, physically, all of that, and their strengths as well. And so when they get to that point, they ask me, I just tell them, I say straight up, I'm real with them. I'm like, hey, how long did you go without movement? And they're like, oh, like 20 years. I'm like, okay. So we've been doing this for 3 weeks. So, what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
reframe.
And
It's
it's
got to
not,
reframe.
Yeah, and it's not to be a
yeah.
jerk about it. It's just to be real about it. And it's like, and I'll tell them personally about my story. I'll say that, I eliminated everything, and I worked hard. I worked like 5 hours a day, and I ate, and I did not cheat one time. I didn't have a chip, didn't have alcohol, whatever. And this is not the proper way for all those that are listening.
By the way,
that's
that
not what
doesn't
you should be
work.
doing. It doesn't work. Yeah, but literally, I lost weight, but I lost muscle too. I didn't look like I wanted to. I didn't feel good. So anyway, but when I did that, it took 9 months for me just to see any change.
Yeah.
Okay. Because again, I'm hurting my adrenals. There were so many things with thyroid. There were so many things that just tanked everything, right? Because I went too hard too quickly. So I'm like, this is a process. So if you're here to be on the process and the journey, then let me help you. But if you can't get past that, like, oh, you didn't change your whole body in 3 weeks or a month and a half, you know what I mean? Then really, like, that's not gonna. This isn't going to work for you. So I just, instead of letting them go and being like, okay, I can't help you, I try to reframe their mind and reshape how they look at everything. So that's why I take this so seriously when people are like, oh, look, you're a personal trainer. I'm like, yes, but I own a business and I own, I'm doing this brand that is trying to help you be a better person. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's lifestyle.
Exactly.
It's lifestyle.
Not
it's
just,
more than just weight loss or something short.
Exactly.
It's a big time thing.
Yeah.
Are there people that you just, you meet them a couple of times and you're like, look, this isn't going to work?
So
like,
I've had...
I wish I could help you, but you're not ready yet.
Right. I've had those experiences, and it really, it's only happened maybe like twice in my whole time. I'm going on almost 4 years of business, and so I've been very fortunate to have people that believed in themselves. And when people ask me that, they're like, how long do people usually train with you? And truthfully, if someone stays over a month, then I have them for a very long time.
Yeah.
It just comes down to them moving or something happening or whatever. And some of my clients I've had for 4 years and everything like that. And they're great, but they know the value in it. They know the lifestyle of it. They want to have that person, to have that accountability, but to have that, even if it's one time a week, to reassure them about loving themselves, throughout this, because everybody needs that reminder.
Sure.
So I don't know. I think that for me, having those couple of people that happen, it wouldn't have worked. It's kind of like a relationship, right? The first day, second day, if you have to convince yourself or kind of make up these stories to tell your friends, like, yeah, it was great, but it really wasn't, then why, you know what I mean? Then why don't we just be real, cut it off, and that's hard to say, but I've actually had people that have, not, it hasn't been the right time for them, but they've come back, many months later or a year later, and they're like, I'm ready now.
And
but
I
they
think
realize
that's key, that it might not be the right time, right? In your life, what you're dealing with, all the other mental things that are pulling on you, this might not be the time for you to focus here, or it is for you time to put them away and focus on this, and the rest of it takes care of itself. So that's key. I think that's a big point.
When with my sort of workouts, what's weird is, I hear a lot of people saying, well, you should just go work out. It helps relieve stress. And I'm like, if I have something going on where my anchor, something's funky with the business or something's funky going on, I can't work out. My brain is, I can't do that.
You can't step away.
I have to get this straightened out before that goes. And to your point, it could be 3-4 months before that's okay. Now I can focus on this thing.
Right.
Now I can figure out how to do this. And what I like about what you're talking about is it's not just body positivity, but then it's positivity that switches on everything. It's on the work, on how you treat relationships, how you do that, because now you start looking for those positives.
Exactly. And it sets you up for success for all the elements in your life. I kind of always looked at finances, relationships, family, all these different things, kind of like a pie chart, and that, basically is everything in the green. And usually it's not. It's like red. Yeah. Oh, that one's in the green. And then you're like, yay, I got that one thing.
Couple yellow.
yeah, exactly.
Trending.
Yeah, and so that's where it's like, I want to help people get to that full circle, and even myself help to get to that full circle. And not to say that I want them to be perfect. I just want them to be able to have that mindset that will allow them to even get the chance to have that kind of positivity about every aspect in their life.
Okay, so someone's listening to this podcast. They're ready to make a move. What would you recommend as kind of the 2 or 3 things that they need to start either changing from a mindset standpoint, or do they just need to get doing something, I guess would be the question.
Right. I think if they are the ones that are deciding it, not their, partners, not their husbands, not someone telling them that they should,
point, by the way.
that's telling them they should do this, that they truly want to do it. Because that's what happened to me. I had to make the decision. No one else could do it for me. And once you have done that, it does not matter what you do, right? You could go for a walk. You could do some hip thrusts at night. You could start with some planks. You could go take a class. You could, whatever is going to make sense for you, that makes sense with your lifestyle. try it, go do it, because 9 times out of 10, whatever you start with is not what you're going to finish with.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, I started with, like I said, HIIT classes and things like that, like after even dance and stuff like that. But that led me, I had to go through all of that to get me to where I was at.
And that's good. That's the experimentation, that you find the thing that you want to do, that you're good at, or you enjoy.
But I
more
think
than
that
anything
so many
else.
people put so much pressure on themselves. Like, I have to find the exact regimen and the exact food and the exact thing that's going to make sense, and then I'll do it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that changes constantly as we get older.
Yes.
That constantly changes.
Yep.
You have to modify. You have
Different
to back off.
seasons
You
of
have
life.
to totally, and you should never go full gas all the time.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We always talked about that.
Yep.
That's not going to be sustainable.
Right.
You have to have it where you roll with the seasons, change things up, mix it up, cross train, do other things, make it fresh.
Right.
Keep that going.
And I definitely believe too in things like listening to podcasts. I believe in writing in journals, and that's why over the course of the pandemic, I started my Love Your Body podcast, and then started the 30-day challenge journal. Which the 30-day challenge journal literally is in there. It says that if you can write in this journal every day, and you can use the prompts where it's like, did I love my body today? Rate your positivity. Did I step out of my comfort zone? Did I fight for what I want? How did I get my movement in? If you can do this for 30 days in a row, then I'm going to reward you by having like a free training session.
Nice.
And so that's like what the journal says in there.
That's great.
And so again, it's like that reward type system, whatever. But just again, by the end of it, everyone's like, hey, I missed a couple of days, which you think people would be mad about, but they're like, but man, I learned so much about myself. And that was what was cool. And I've had men and women doing it. And because I think there's that stereotype of like, oh, well, women journal and things like that, but men should definitely journal, especially if you are trying to be this athlete and trying to be this healthy lifestyle regimen, person, to write down your thoughts, write down those things, and see why, I haven't been working out for 3 months because the business is like this.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that way you can kind of know, like, oh, I definitely am, like, these are my triggers. These are the things.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And it's one of those things where it helps with your sleep. It clears your mind.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you get to sleep better.
Yep.
And then that starts the cycle, right? You're fresh the next morning. You can look at what you had. You can pick up where you left off in your thoughts. And then it kind of goes from that. It's all of these things, these little things that snowball into good stuff.
Yeah.
Just as much as the bad stuff snowballs into really bad things. Go down the right path.
Yeah, and I think the key takeaway too, what I really like at the beginning of this was you entered into a sport that traditionally women don't get into, and you didn't care because it made you feel
you
good,
crushed
right?
it.
And one of the things, 9 million times
that helps.
So I think to me, one of the big takeaways is, to your point, find that sport. But if it's a traditionally male or traditionally female sport, who gives a crap?
Right.
If it's something that
Go for it.
go for
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
If it's
Stop trying to fit into a stereotype that, is not even.
Don't let other people put labels on you or what you should or shouldn't do.
Because there's always
key.
going to be people that were defiant, or they're going to say to you, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do this. I mean, so many people said that. And it's one of those things where as long as it makes you happy, then I'm going to be supportive. If you want to go run 30 miles today, like, cool. I'm not going to come with you. But, like, you know what I mean?
Do your thing, man.
But do your thing. And it shouldn't be based on what I think or what someone thinks or even loved ones think. It should be what makes you happy, because then you're going to be a better person for those people around you.
And we could do a whole podcast on relationships and toxic.
Right.
like what's supportive versus non-supportive. And
I've seen it all, man.
And people trying to make these big changes in their lives for the better, and then having that negative reaction from their family and loved ones that feel very, very threatened by it.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, even me at a young age, I had to put it on myself that it did not matter.
Yep.
It didn't matter. I have to be that person. I have to be an adult. I have to make the decision to not eat pizza every day. I have to make the decision, not that pizza's bad, just not every day, it's not in my regimen. Yeah, exactly.
Put some veggies on it. It's
right,
okay.
Exactly. But it just was me having to look at myself and not blaming anyone else, not blaming my genetics, not blaming, because, for example, with this body that I have that was, made fun of, talked about, just people made me feel so bad about it, whatever. The thing is that, like, with that body, I am able to do incredible things, right?
Yep.
And I wouldn't have known that if I would have stayed in that circle of people, or and just always listen to them.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I had to get away, push the negativity, stop the nonsense, and turn the negative into a positive, where it's like, oh yeah, I have this really, this large frame or whatever, but like I still I'm doing these amazing things, and I'm constantly surprising myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, I think, is a great place
That's awesome.
to end
So.
our
Yeah,
podcast.
thank you
What
guys
is
so
going
much.
on What do you want people to know about what's going on with you over the next
Yeah.
few months?
And what's your podcast?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which I subscribe to. I actually enjoy your podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so
You
much.
actually enjoy it?
I
Or
actually
you just enjoy it?
No, I actually do.
I
really
actually enjoy it. You know,
I know,
about
we're
that.
you just
surprised
plain
too.
enjoy it too.
Yeah, we're surprised about it too, because
I actually enjoy it. Yes.
Like, you're
I
like-
guess that sounded really bad. I'm
No,
sorry about that.
you're
no,
fine.
I really enjoy it.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah, it's the Love Your Body podcast. It's on Apple, Spotify, and now on the iHeartRadio.
Awesome.
So it's really cool. And Blake Harris is my co-host, my lead trainer. So we have fun on there, just talk about anything and everything. And I actually have my first Move Fit pop-up of 2021, and that's
Yay.
May 8th. So Mother's Day weekend. So bring your moms, bring your daughters,
All right.
sisters,
Yeah.
everybody come out for it. But it'll be at Yeehaw Brewing Company. The tickets are around $20. And you'll get a free beer afterwards. So everybody
Nothing wrong
loves
with
that.
That's
And
good.
I'll actually have sponsors as well.
Cool.
So they'll be giving out snacks, protein, things, supplements, all that good stuff. So that way you can just kind of have a normal day outside, and it will be spread out. And so it'll be really nice, but we'll have a DJ. It's just going to be epic. So I'm super excited about that. And then besides that, I think it's, we're in the pre-planning stages of Find Your Fit. So my Find Your Fit festival, I told you about that when I first, when you first got into town. But that one is where I have like 7 different fitness formats come out. They do all these different, classes. There's all these different sponsors. Like, I've had like 60 sponsors before, and people come and literally find their fit.
Sweet.
So so if you've been looking for how to start this or what to do, that would be such a great festival for you to come check out.
Absolutely.
So,
And we'll
very
make
cool.
sure to put the link on.
Definitely.
so
Yep.
much, guys.
We'll have the link on. What's the social medias that we need to get?
on everything, it's Dani D Fitness 1.
Dani D Fitness 1. Go
Yep.
check out the TikTok if you
Yes.
haven't yet. We want to get that
Yeah.
to 100 million?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the number we're
That
shooting
is
for?
the number we're
100
shooting
on that,
for.
yeah. And thank you everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the podcast, give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate that. That helps the algorithms, and more people will get access to it. Check out Dani D's podcast as well. Love Your Body, and give us any thoughts, comments, feedback. We'll try to respond to everything as best as possible. So thank you all.
Thanks.